The Senate will please come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bertschiger, Beyer, Boquist, Burdick, DeBoer, Dembro, Devlin, Ferrioli, Frederick, Gelser, Gerard, Hansel, Haas, Johnson, Knope, Cruz, Linthicum, Manning, Monis Anderson, Monroe, Olson, Brzezinski, Riley, Roblin, Steiner Hayward, Taylor, Thatcher, Thompson, Winters, President Courtney.
President, the colors, and Senator Jackie Winters will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Our invocation today is from Father Zach Harmon, the St. Paul's Episcopal Church here in Salem.
Thank you. Let us pray. O God, be thou our vision and our wisdom. Be in our words, be in the hearts of friends and strangers that gather here on this day. In times of quiet and in times of strife, be thou our vision. For you are the fountain of wisdom, whose will is good and gracious, and whose law is truth. And we beseech you to bless our senators assembled here to enact laws for the good and for the welfare of our people. May they have courage, wisdom, and foresight to provide for the needs of all our people. And may you grant them a lamp of liberty, of justice, and equality. And may you grant them a lamp of charity that never fails, that by its brightness we may have a vision of your light. Or in Spanish, concede, oh Dios, la lámpara de la libertad y de la justicia y de igualdad. Y concede, oh Dios, la lámpara de la claridad especialmente, que nunca se apaga, que por su claridad tengamos una visión de tu luz. Oh Dios, sé tú nuestra visión. Oh God, be thou our vision. Amen.
I'd like to thank Father Zach Harmon for his invocation here today, and thank Senator Jackie Winters and the students in the gallery for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Under courtesies, the students from Pleasant Hill Elementary School are here. They're from Pleasant Hill. And the students from Santiam Christian School are here, and they are from Corvallis. So the students that are from Pleasant Hill and Santiam Christian, we welcome you to the Oregon State Capitol. This is your state capitol. It's an honor that when students will come into the state capitol and be with us and to be part of the state senate. We hope you're having a good day. Hope you'll stay as long as you want, and hope you'll come back again and again and again. Thank you. Recognize Senator Elizabeth Steiner Hayward.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please extend courtesies of the Senate to my friend Stephanie Mock. Stephanie is a former state representative from Arizona who I met through the CSG, Council of State Governments Toll Fellowship, and really formed a strong bond with, as I did with all the members of the Western Region Group. She's been visiting me from Arizona and has expressed amazement at the level of civility and collaboration that we have here, especially compared to her home state, starting to consider a move to the Northwest, and we look forward to having her here. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I'd like to welcome you, Stephanie, to the Oregon State Capitol, State of Oregon. It's an honor and privilege that you would come on our floor. I've lost one of my sons to the great state of Arizona, so I wasn't real crazy about what the senator said about Arizona. He lives and went to Arizona State University, Tempe. I visited your capital. It's interesting, in Arizona, their House chamber is in one building, their Senate chamber is in another building, and I think they sold the whole thing to the private sector. So that's Arizona. I think I'm right on that. So anyway, go Sun Devils, and welcome again. I hope you have a good stay here. It's an honor and privilege that you would come on the floor today. Thank you. Any further courtesies? I see none. What's the matter? Messages from the governor.
To the Honorable President of the Senate of the 78th Legislative Assembly, attaches a list of governor's appointments to state boards and commissions subject to Senate confirmation in a manner provided by ORS 171562 and ORS 171565. These appointments are submitted for your consideration and will be effective upon Senate confirmation. Sincerely, Kate Brown, Governor. To the Oregon Board of Accountancy, Candace Franck. Appraiser Certification Licensure Board, Brian Brooks. Building Code Structure Board, William Schmidt. Oregon Criminal Justice Commission, Robert Bovitt. Kiki Parker Rose. Oregon Board of Dentistry, Charles Dunn. Hank Pam. Electoral and Elevator Board, Heather Miller. Environmental Quality Commission, Kathleen George, Molly Kyle, Robert Mosby. Oregon Government Ethics Commission, David Fiscom. Oregon Housing Stability Council, Gerardo Sandoval. Oregon State Lottery Commission, Christine Telfer. Oregon Medical Board, Kathleen Harder, Cheryl Pereira. Oregon Policy Advisory Council, Jenna Carter, Walter Chuck Jr. Board of Trustees, Oregon Institute of Technology, William Mikulowski, William Perry, Michael Bailey, Mark Baldwin, Rainey Borker, Julie Brim Edwards, Paul Kelly, Kirk Schuler, Michael Thorne. State Board of Parole and Post-Prison Supervision, Michael Shue. Board of Trustees, Portland State University, Erica Bestpitch, Maud Hines, Thomas Imeson, Irving Levin, Christine Bernier. Psychiatric Security Review Board, Shelley Castile, Ann Nickel, John Swetnam. Board on Public Safety Standards and Training, Christine Allison, Patricia Patrick Jolene, Brian Wolf. Board of Trustees, Southern Oregon University, Sheila Clough. State Board of Examiners for State Language Pathology and Audiology, John Evans. State Board of Tax Practitioners, Susan Gallagher Smith. Board of Trustees, Oregon University. Board of Trustees of University of Oregon, Peter Bragdon, Rodolfo Chapa Jr., Andrew Colas, Joseph Gagne III, Charles Lillis, Jimmy Murray, William Postian. Oregon State Veterinary Medical Examining Board, Matthew Fields. Oregon Voluntary Commission for Voluntary Action Service, Mila Buckland, Gary Carroll II. Workers' Compensation Board, Roger Ozzie. State Workforce Investment Board, Ann Masuro and Christina Payne.
Messages from the House, please. What did I do? I made a mistake. The governor's executive appointments are transmitted to the President's desk for referral. Message from the House.
Mr. President, the House has passed House Bill 2242, 2134, 2147, and 2482.
Reports from committees in accordance with SR 8.55. Number 1, committee report summary number 64 was distributed to members March 30th. Number 665 was distributed March 31st. Number 66 was distributed today. This information will be recorded in the Journal of Status Report as so ordered. Propositions and motions. Actions on executive appointments that require the Senate confirmation. Introduction, first reading of Senate measures.
Senate Bill 1043, relating to date to enroll in community college to qualify for Oregon Promise and declare emergency.
Transmitted to the press desk for referral. Second reading of Senate measures.
Senate Bill 19, relating to blended gasoline for sale within the state and declare emergency. Senate Bill 41, relating to workforce information. Senate Bill 42, relating to unemployment insurance. Senate Bill 104, relating to registry of persons who provide care in facilities and declare emergency. Senate Bill 821, relating to emergency housing account. Senate Bill 834, relating to basic human rights and declare emergency.
These will be passed to the counter. We're now under the third reading of Senate measures. The clerk reads the bill.
Senate Bill 846, relating to restraint of youth in custodial circumstances.
Recognize Senator Sara Gelser.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. Welcome back to Monday. I'm very pleased to bring you Senate Bill 846 today, which came to you unanimously from the Judiciary Committee. This bill relates to how youth, both in the custody of the Department of Human Services and the Oregon Health Authority, and in the custody of courts or detention programs, are maintained. This bill does one simple thing. It ensures that kids are only shackled when it is necessary based on their safety or the safety of others. With this bill, when a youth goes into a courtroom before a judge, their shackles will be removed before the judge enters the room, and so that they are not sitting through that court hearing while they are shackled. It also means that the health authority, when the health authority themselves are transporting a young person, they will not be transporting that person in shackles unless there has been a demonstrated cause specific to that young person for those restraints to be used. There are two examples that I'd like to share with you for why I brought this bill forward, and both of them happened within a couple of months this year. I was probably paying more attention to the issue because we'd had an informational hearing on the issue in Judiciary earlier this year during committee days. In one case, I had gone to my local court to follow a court hearing of a young man, a boy, who was very challenged to access mental health services that he needed and was not able to return home because he needed to go to foster care. There were no foster beds available for him, so he kept going back to court for a status hearing, but he was locked up in detention because there was not a foster home for him. And when I walked into the courtroom, I was shocked to see him shackled at the wrists and the ankles. And if you can imagine a middle school aged child, early elementary school aged child, 12-year-old, in ankle and wrist restraints, looking terribly frightened, seeing his mother in the courtroom, knowing he can't go home with her, and knowing he has to go back to detention instead of going to a safe foster home. It was a very devastating thing to have happen. Around the same period of time, we received a call in our office, and this goes to the Health Authority and DHS part of the bill. There was a girl, she experienced, again, a young child, she experienced an intellectual disability and a mental illness. She woke up in her foster home, was planning to have a visit with her mother that afternoon, was preparing for her school pictures, and there was a knock at the door, and an unknown caseworker came to the house and said that they were taking her from the foster home in Bend to the children's farm home. They put her in belly shackles and ankle restraints and drove her all the way from Bend to Corvallis. She had no idea where she was going, and she had no breakfast. But if you can imagine this child with an intellectual disability and a mental illness in belly shackles for that period of time. This bill would ensure that that did not happen unless that was specific to the need of the youth. It does allow a provision that if there is in court a change in the youth's behavior that poses a risk or safety to others, the judge can immediately order that that individual be restrained. There are several counties in the state that already have stopped shackling kids in court, and this would allow us to have uniform practices across the entire state. This is a good bill. It's important for the dignity of our youth who find themselves in these circumstances. In some cases, they've made mistakes. In some cases, they're just seeking mental health treatment, and they are terrified and afraid, and we know that it is simply not developmentally appropriate to put wrist cuffs and ankle cuffs and belly chains on our children. I urge your aye vote.
We're now on discussion. Recognize Senator Alan Olson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the carrier entertain a question?
Will the carrier yield?
Yes, I will.
Carrier will.
Thank you very much, and I apologize for not getting this to you earlier, but under Section 3, when we're talking about transportation, it says that they cannot use handcuffs, chains, irons, straitjackets, cloth restraints. My question is, when they put a child into a car and they put him into a seatbelt, would that be considered legally a cloth restraint?
Senator Olson, no, this does not refer to seatbelts. It also does not refer to law enforcement when they have arrested a child.
Continuing question,
Would
if I may.
the carrier yield to another question? Would the carrier yield?
Yes.
Carrier will.
Thank you. I thought you'd fall asleep.
No, I was looking back at the bill.
Is there a fiscal on this saying that we have to have staff that are adequately trained in restraint device?
Thank you for the question, Senator Olson. No, already individuals that are transporting kids in secure transport through DHS and the Oregon Health Authority should be trained to appropriately support the behaviors of those children.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the bill.
To the bill.
When I read this bill last night, as I'm perusing through it, I can understand the purpose of it, the necessity of it, but I was concerned about the fact that when we talked about cloth restraints, because any lawyer worth any salt at all, and you being one should know this, that if someone is put into a vehicle and the seatbelt is put around them to protect them from being hurt, that would be considered a cloth restraint because it is made with nylon or plastic restraint since it is made with nylon. So my concern was the fact that this is a loophole that a lawyer would take advantage of. That's my point. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Herman Bertschiger, Jr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question for the carrier.
Would the carrier yield?
Of course.
Carrier will yield.
Good morning.
Thank you. At the discretion of the law enforcement officer or agent of the state, could they, if they deem necessary, still use restraints when they transport?
Thank you, good Senator. There's two answers to that question. This does not impact when a law enforcement officer is arresting an individual or carrying out the normal course of business. This is transporting the individual to court. And what this bill does is it requires that a plan be made for each young person based on the individual circumstances of that young person. But it does allow, we worked with all of the stakeholders, and there is a clause in there for exigent circumstances. So something happens in the process, they certainly can then use a restraint if necessary to protect the health and safety of that child or someone else.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussion. Senator Gelser, your closing.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to clarify for the legislative record that it would be against the law to transport a child in a car without using a seatbelt. And I don't believe that anyone contemplated a seatbelt as an inappropriate restraint, and just wanted the record to be clear that we are talking about mechanical restraints to restrict the movement of a child, not safety restraints in a vehicle that are required by law. I urge your aye vote.
Third reading and final passage of Senate Bill 846A. Those opinion bills to pass say aye. Those opposed no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Monis Anderson. Monroe. Olson. Prozonsky. Riley. Roblin. Steiner Hayward. Taylor. Thatcher. Thompson. Winters. Bertschiger. Byer. Boquist. Burdick. DeBoer. Dembro. Devlin. Ferrioli. Frederick. Gelser. Gerard. Hansel. Hass. Johnson. Knope. Cruz. Linthicum. Manning. President Courtney. Excused. Hansel. 29 aye votes.
Senate Bill 846A, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk reads the bill.
Senate Bill 890, relating to privileged city information disclosed to the elected city auditor and declaring an emergency.
Recognize Senator Kathleen Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today I request your support for Senate Bill 890A. Oregonians expect auditors to provide rigorous oversight of government programs, and an auditor's ability to do this work depends on unfettered access to agency records. In the absence of statutory protections preserving privilege, agencies may withhold legally privileged information from auditors out of concern that sharing it will waive the agency's privilege. This leads to potentially incomplete or inaccurate audits and investigations, which in turn may prevent agencies from addressing problems and improving performance and efficiency. Senate Bill 890A safeguards access to information for elected city auditors by providing that their office's review of privileged information in the course of an audit or investigation does not waive the city's privilege. This bill does not impact the ability of whistleblowers to make information public. Senate Bill 890A increases oversight and ensures that elected city auditors have complete information in order to do their job in a complete and thorough manner. In my collaboration with city officials, the emergency clause was requested in order to ensure that audits and investigations going on at the time of the bill's passage will benefit from the auditor's ability to have complete access to necessary information. I'm pleased to support this and I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 890A. Thank you.
Discussion of the measure. Senator Betsy Johnson.
Thank you. Will the carrier yield to a question?
Will the carrier yield?
Yes.
Carrier will.
Was there discussion in committee of a specific circumstance that has given rise to this bill?
Not a specific audit, no. It's more of an ongoing situation for the city of Portland where I think you know the city of Portland's auditor is independently elected, and they have an unusual amount of authority there, and their responsibilities are extensive. So they oversee the ombudsman, the police accountabilities. I think that's what it's called. I'm not confident. And some of the other responsibilities that they have, and so they want to be able to have unfettered access to what is generally considered confidential information. But they did not bring up a specific audit, to my knowledge.
Thank you. To the bill.
To the bill.
I'm going to fully support the bill, and I appreciate your comprehensive answer. I just find it alarming that an independently elected auditor would not be given unfettered access to information, municipal information necessary to complete their professional responsibilities.
Further discussion. Senator Taylor, your closing. Question now arises upon third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 890A. Those in opinion of bills to pass say aye. Those opposed no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Monroe? Olson? Brzezinski? Riley? Roblin? Steiner Hayward? Taylor? Thatcher? Thompson? Winters? Barrett Sugar? Byer? Boquist? Burdick? DeBoer? Dembro? Devlin? Ferrioli? Frederick? Gelser? Gerard? Hansel? Haas? Johnson? Knope? Cruz? Linthicum? Manning? Monis Anderson? President Courtney?
Yes.
Excused. Hansel. 29 aye votes.
The Senate Bill 890A, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The first reading of House measures.
House Bill 2134 relating to low-income electric bill payment assistance for prime effective date. House Bill 2147 relating to Oregon high school graduates and post-secondary institutions of education. House Bill 2242 relating to trade sector business development projects. House Bill 2482 relating to self-service fuel dispensaries in low-population counties.
The transmitted to the President's desk for referral. Second reading of House measures. Third reading of House measures. Other business Senate, in accordance with SR 8.403, committee referral list number 21 was distributed to the members March 31st. The referrals will be recorded in the Journal and Stage report is so ordered. Under announcements, Senator Burdick, Senator Ferrioli. Yes, Senator Ferrioli, please.
Mr. President, Republicans will go immediately to the caucus room because we will be discussing the importance of Senate Bill 3 and the importance of transportation package in the state of Oregon. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. If there's no further announcements, as you know, the University of Oregon Ducks were unable to move into the national championship game tonight, having lost to University of North Carolina. I want you all to root for Gonzaga, whether you want to or not. Gonzaga is a Northwest school in Spokane. Two of their starters come from Oregon, Happy Valley and Jefferson High School. If you are from North Carolina or you like them, they have pretty colors, but today it's all about the Zags. Go Zags. That was totally inappropriate, but I don't care. I'm pro Northwest. I'm pro Northwest. As simple as that. and I'll talk more about the Ducks when Senator Bill Hansel returns. If there are no further announcements, then without objection, the Senate is adjourned until 11 a.m. Tuesday, April 4th. The Senate is adjourned until 11 a.m. Tuesday, April 4th. The Senate is now adjourned. I just did that.